Okay, good. I'm that kid. You can't keep me sitting with her shaking, and I can't do that on camera. The girl may not get it right, so. You ready? Is the camera ready as well? You good? Oh, okay, good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I am Dr. Linda Johnson-McClinton. It is a pleasure and honor to be before each of you. I love UNLV, and I'm going to tell you why. Because they've been good to me. When I am new to the state, I've been here about a year and a half, and when I first came here, I was like, hi, I'm Linda. I don't know what you're going to do, but we're going to do something together. And they've been very kind and gracious. So I'm going to go over my journey of Teacherpreneur, shifting the practice from the classroom to CEO. So when I say Teacherpreneur, just kind of popcorn out. I am not that person you have to raise your hand. Just kind of popcorn out. When I say Teacherpreneur, what comes to mind? Business. Why business? Entrepreneur. Okay, we're talking about business. What else comes to mind?
Teacher pay teacher shop.
Teacher pay teacher. Because we know we need that, right? Okay. What else? Teacherpreneur. I'm sorry? Being your own boss. Yeah. So everyone that has just responded, you're all correct. Teacherpreneur. So when Dr. Johnson reached out to me, he was like, hey, I saw you present at the state conference before, and I want you to talk in about your journey. I said, okay. Which part of my journey? He said, all of it. I said, okay. So that I needed to find something that captured everything, because my journey is unique. And so, you know, Google, it has the answers to everything, right? So I'm Googling the different characteristics that I see in myself for my journey, and Teacherpreneur came up, and I thought, it's a real word. Did you all know that?
No, I did not.
I didn't either. I said, oh, look at this, I am somebody. I'm a Teacherpreneur. So being a Teacherpreneur, as you said, is more of me taking my gifts, my practices of being in the classroom, and being able to create a business from it. Society has told us as practitioners, because we are all practitioners up in here, society has told us that we are to keep our practice in a room with 4 walls and a door that may open without going, you know. But society has told us that. And although, yes, we do need teachers in that area, as you grow in your purpose, you should grow in your journey as well. So we need teachers in the classroom. I'm not taking away from that. I go back and forth into the classroom to support and coach. But we also need those outside of there. So I'm going to tell you about my journey as I shift around. So we've already done our welcome y'all. And I want to talk about our intro. So I am a 26-year educator. I have been doing this for quite some time, through NCLB, through ESSA, and Lord knows whatever's coming next, but I'm ready for it all. We know that although our titles and our acronyms change, I don't know why this keeps jumping. Maybe if I just put it here, don't touch it, it won't move. But we know that as things change, realistically, the laws are just there to help guide us. They are there for guidance. We want to make sure we are aware of them, but within them, the laws are expecting us as practitioners to be aware of best practices for our clientele, whether it's the student, our colleagues in the classroom, our administrators, our families, our communities. We have to know what the best practices are. So before we go any further, I just want to know who's in the room. So, I know I have people, and I appreciate that on this Saturday. But popcorn out where you are in your journey. Are you a graduate student? Are you finishing undergrad? Are you doing your internship? Does anyone want to popcorn out? Go ahead.
I am currently in my last semester. I'm still teaching in a first grade classroom, and my degree set is early childhood education.
Oh, foundational grades.
Yes.
We need you, because without the foundation, a house will do what? Crumble. So we need our foundational teachers. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I have about a year left in my elementary education program for my bachelor's.
Elementary ed. Now, the secondary is sometimes they look at us side eye, but they know they need us too. Just like we need our early childhood, we also need our elementary ed, because that's where our kids go from learning to read to learn to that comprehension, that application of knowledge. Thank you for sharing. There's one more person. Anybody else want to share out? Okay, that's no problem. Because I love to talk anyway, so that works out. So we know, we have a feel of who's in the room. I want you to be mindful that on your journey, you are the expert. You have gone through the classwork, you have done the research, you have worked with kids in small and whole group, you've also worked with adults too. You are the expert. So be aware of who's in the room, know your clientele, and have your research and your data to justify your why. So as we talk about the Teacherpreneur piece, we're going to go into details as far as what that looks like for my journey, because everyone's journey is different. Within that journey, I'm going to tell you my overview of my process and how I went from a dream to reality, and why it's important to wake up at some point while you were dreaming. Just kind of read over the screen as we talk about Teacherpreneur. Teacherpreneur says that we need someone like you, when you have developed all these skills in your practice, to say, hey, what else can I do to support the landscape? We have coaches, we have teachers that become coaches, that become specialists, and go on and on. Identify your purpose, but in order to know your purpose, you have to know your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you in this field? Don't say it's for the pay, because we're educators. We know about that, right? So what part of your heart says that this journey is for you? What are you going to do with it? How would that benefit your clientele? I'm big about not waiting for people to ask me for something that I would like done. I like to go and be assertive and start the conversation. Because you have not, because you ask not. So I like to go start it. So if you look at this quote here, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. I'm going to take it a step further. We've heard in our practice, oh, well, when so-and-so invites you to the table, educators, be ready. I'm not going to wait. They might forget I'm there. So I create my own table and I invite them. How are you doing? I am Dr. Linda Johnson-McClinton. I have my elevated speech ready. If you have not already created yours, I encourage you to do so. You have gifts that support the classroom and gifts that go outside the classroom. Be ready at all times. Introduce yourself. Let them know what your skill set is and how you can be an added value to them as an educator. Because contradictory to what some may say, you, the practitioners, you mold and shape the world. Everybody needs us. So let's remind them their why they need us. You want to become so involved in what you're doing where you're not keeping things as is. We're talking about 21st century learning skills and standards, which means that we have to think outside the box. What does that look like, and how are we going to be risk takers in the process? Which means you have to have a thick skin. You have to have it, because some things people will challenge you on, rightfully so. You have some that will be naysayers, but that goes back to your why. How is it that what you are going to do is going to change or motivate or enhance the children before you or the parents that are before you? Because remember, you have to support the home, the community life. How does that work? So for our learning objectives, I just have a couple of them. One is, how do you become an educational change agent? So I can't tell you how, but I can model what I did in my process. The second one is using your professional practice as your purpose. The day that you go to work, or you go to your student teaching session, or you go to your college class, and you don't know your purpose, ask yourself, well, why did I even get started? Where am I going? Because sometimes we have to remind ourselves of our purpose. Every day is not easy, especially being an educator. But I have to remember my why in order to get to my purpose for where I'm going next. So be mindful of that, which means you're going to talk to the people in your circle. But be careful who's in your circle, because sometimes they may take you from being in that circle to let me talk to myself in the mirror. Because I need some positive words coming to me. Know that you are needed. No matter what's going on in the world, you are needed. So what are you going to do with your passion to make a difference? All right, can you all read that together, please? Okay, we're going to pretend we're in the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, let's try to read together in unison. And go.
Sometimes it's the journey that teaches you a lot about your destination.
And who's that by?
Drake.
We're just going to leave that there. So we need to think about, on our journey, what's going on. And how's that going to help me identify what I need to do next? How does that prepare me for the next step in my level? Remember, I told you my title is Teacherpreneur. I went from the classroom to becoming a CEO. A CEO in education. I had my own educational businesses because I was going to take, or I have taken what I have to go to the next level. So it is my journey as an educator that's helped me to get to where I am today. And there are times that I have to stop and say, okay, well, Linda, you are here. Let's go back to what in your journey has gotten you here. I have to go back to my why and my purpose in order for me to go and say, okay, now based on that, because I have to bring things back, what am I going to do next? What will be my impact? So throughout my journey, I'm just going to give you the overview and then talk about where we are. Classroom teacher. I was in the classroom for 6 years. Middle school math teacher. I love the big kids. Bless your ministry for the babies, but I'm tall and they always like to wipe their hands on my dress and everything. So I want to know the kids. And being a middle school teacher, so much going on. Kids are discovering themselves. And you are helping them and coaching them through that process. Doing so, I had administrators that would come to observe my class, and I'm not just talking about your regular observation. Those that were outside of my school would come to find out what's going on in my classroom. I was okay with it. I love to entertain because as my mother, who was also a retired teacher, would tell me, she said, teachers are actors and actresses. We put on whatever role we need to grab the attention because we have to win the kids in, right? That's what we do. So in doing so, I had other people come into my classroom, and there was an administrator that was the overseer of this huge area. I'm from Chicago Public Schools. And the person came in and invited, and then sent a message saying that they wanted me to take this position as a reading coach. And I said, oh, okay, thank you. Because I love my kids. I'm thinking my kids, you organize small groups. I had the strategies. And so the person came back and said, well, did you get my message? Yes, I did, thank you. I appreciate it. And so the person said, well, why haven't you applied? I said, I have to remember my purpose. My purpose is to be in front of our children, to teach them, to coach them, to build them up, to front load at times when necessary. And she said, Linda, that's why I need you outside the classroom. Because you have teachers who need that type of coaching too. Because of your passion for teaching, you know your purpose, I need you to share it with others. She convinced me, but what she didn't tell me is that, oh yeah, by the way, since we're a very large school district, because we're like third in the nation, we need 34 schools. What do you mean 34 schools is one meeting? That was like the fine print, I had my glasses on. And I said, okay, so figure that out. And in doing so, I had to go back to as a classroom teacher. What do you do when you have your whole group? You have to go to small groups. You have to know the needs of your students. What does that look like? So I used that same practice for the schools I was overseeing. Fast forward, I'm thinking I'm doing well. I'm loving it. I have it down pat. I can take data on every school, each person, what's going on. I had a system. Then someone came up to me who was a first-year principal and said, Linda, you know, I just got my first school. I said, yeah, congratulations. Yeah, I need you to be the AP. I said, oh, well, thanks for offering, but no thanks, but I wish you well. He said, okay, well, let me rephrase this for you. You're the AP of my new school. I said, no, I'm not. I didn't apply for it, but thank you anyway. He said, okay, well, let me help you out. I talked to your supervisor. What? And we agreed that you have done so much in this coaching piece. I want you to help my school because we're one of the lowest performing schools. Can you help us in this growth process? And I told him, hold that thought. I need to go talk to my supervisor. How dare you just go ahead and send me out? But she told me, Linda, it goes back to why I first pulled you in. That passion, that coaching, knowing your data, the strategies, being able to share and pour. She said, you're limiting yourself again. I said, limit? I got 34 schools. How is that limiting? She said, now you have 34 schools. They're now proficient. How do you pour into one school that's at the lowest level that needs so much support? She said, because remember, it's the lower level ones that are going to push your ability to grow in the process. Took on that position, did well. That school had been the lowest forever and a day. And by the time we get into the first school year, the reading had gone up to 30% and the math had gone up 25%. Just from the structural coaching. And thank you very much. But the thing is this, I don't even clap to myself, I clap for my staff. Yeah. because I poured into them. They had to be open in order for me to pour in, right?
Yes.
So I clapped for them because I poured into them, and they allowed me to change their mindset, because in order to go on this journey, you have to have a growth mindset. You can't say, well, we learned this in class and it stops here. Our classroom experiences give us the foundation, and we're expected to grow from there. So as a result, we were able to do well. Fast forward, we went to a different district, became the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning. Different experience, deeper expectations, but it's still that coaching practice, because I told you I will forever be a teacher. But now I'm evolving as far as what teaching looks like. I don't go in and say, okay, I need your school to do this, I need yours to do this, I need yours to do that. Because then all I have done is just told them what to do. As teachers, if we're going to really teach, we don't tell. We model. We coach. We work with them in small groups and say, let's do this side by side together. So that's what we did in that process. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit, but it hadn't hit across the nation. We didn't shut everything down yet. Our district was one of the first districts to go through it in the state of Illinois. So I said, oh, 2 weeks off? Oh my goodness, that's no problem. Well, we're still off. So 3 years later. And in the midst of all that, I had to do a reflection on myself, because as I told you, you need to know your purpose. And your journey should help identify where the next step should be. I had gone through the classroom. I had gone through becoming a coach, a school administrator, a district administrator. So I had to make a decision. Do I work or retire? I said, bye y'all, I'm retiring, see you later. And people said, first of all, you're old enough. Second of all, you have too much energy, you're not going to sit still. I said, don't worry about the age, I've got to do this a long time. And in the midst of that, I had to think about it. I was like, okay, not only do I have the energy, my passion is there. What do I do with my educational skills and strategies? Because I have so much to give and pour. Because it goes back to being a teacher. It's not only with the four walls that we are in. And that's when I came up with my two businesses. I became a CEO of an education consulting company and for a nonprofit STEM education program. I had to identify within my passion what are the two things that keep me going, and how can I use it to build and change the world in which we live in. So, in the midst of doing all that, I said, okay, let me go back into the workforce, because there's some other things I need to see from a different perspective. I didn't go back into the same type of position because I had already hit the ceiling. So I went to do some other things in the midst of creating my own businesses, because I needed to become the change I want to see. I can't wait for people to say, oh, we're going to create this. I was like, oh, that's great. I have to become that change. Can you read this out loud for me, please?
Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside wakes.
Can you read that last line again with all the in your system? And go.
Who looks outside your dreams, who looks inside wakes.
I was dreaming. Prior to opening up my own businesses, I was dreaming. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if? What if I could? Oh my gosh, I learned this in this practice and the research says this. What if? And I kept dreaming and dreaming. And finally, I had to awaken myself and remind myself, I am the master of my fate. I'm the captain of myself. That is a poem. I'm not taking credit for that, but those two lines stick out to me. So I needed to be the change I wanted to see. So I had to awaken from the dream and break that ceiling. What does it look like? I had to be knowledgeable of the need. So in the midst of all of that, of the transitioning, retiring, and everything else, I moved from where I was in Illinois to here in Nevada. But I knew that I couldn't just go in and wait. I went in introducing myself. In the midst of the transitioning, hi, good afternoon, I'm Dr. Linda Johnson-McClinton, and I'm introducing myself to the OSIT department. So that's the governor's department over STEM education here. I introduced myself to Dr. Hayes here, and I know she was thinking, who is this lady, where is she coming from? but she was so open to listen and to learn more about me. I introduced myself to people here because I needed to be knowledgeable of their need. What is the need for UNLV? What is the need for STEM education? What is the need for consulting across our state? What does that look like? I had to know what the data was saying. I have to volunteer, network. When we talk about input, output, you have to put in the work. As practitioners, we put in the planning, the preparation, so that's our input. And then in order to do that, that's where I get the output from. So I am a volunteer for the STEM component at the governor's office. I do volunteer at different educational facilities throughout the state. Because in the midst of me helping them and coaching them, I'm doing what we do as practitioners. I'm collecting data. Identifying what are the other needs, what else can I do? Because sometimes when you're in the midst of everything, you don't always see your needs because you're right there every day. Am I correct when I say that? God bless you. But being someone who's come from the outside, going in and out and developing relationships, you're now able to provide a different perspective to help grow and cultivate and coach. In the midst of all that, I was able to bring in innovative practices. As practitioners, we are aware of the 21st century learning standards, right? Yes, no? I said, you better say yes because you know it's being taken, right? So we know that we have to be innovative. We have to collaborate. We want to make sure we're having the conversations that are supported by data. We want to make sure that in everything that we do, is not we're saying this because this is our belief. We justify our why. So I'm doing all that in the processes. I'm working with the different groups, helping to build people up, to help them self-discover, to help them grow their practice. Because at the end of the day, whether you are early childhood, secondary ed, counsel, whatever your position is within the education field, yes, you're needed on that level, but you are going to grow in your process and your journey. So that's why I wanted to do my part to pour in to help growth take place. So we talk about the journey, now I'm awake. I said, okay. After I had several conversations with self about what is it that I'm going to own. If I say I am a practitioner, what does that look like? And I'm the type of practitioner where I can't just say, oh, well, the data says this. Regardless, we're talking about students, teachers, the community, the data says this, and leave it at that. Because my personal belief is, if you see something that's going on and it's not working, and you, the practitioner, choose not to change it, then you, the practitioner, have blood in your hands. And I vow to myself, there will never ever be an educational homicide on my watch. So I'm going to do my part. Because I'm going to be accountable for self. So within that, as my business continue to develop, it's based off of the needs that we have within our state as well as across the nation. So I have my consulting company where, from the outside looking in, people say, well, Linda, you know, you've done K-16, so what area are you going to focus on? And my word or my response is all of them. Everyone has a different need. And then I have a coach, because in this day, you have to have coaching taking place. In where you are now, you should have some coaches that help guide you in your practice. And my coach said, well, Linda, you're teaching, you're providing strategies for growth and development. It's not just inside the classroom, and it's not just inside your P16 walls. What does that look like for the business world? Because you said you're preparing the students for tomorrow. So we talk about what that is. And then E3 is my nonprofit enriching explorations and engineering, because in the state of Nevada, which is one reason why I moved here, we are developing a STEM pipeline, and there are some specific needs. And as I looked at that, I looked at our data. The data says that we don't have enough opportunities for learning and developing in STEM, specifically in the engineering aspect, for minorities. So my focus is specific on how do I build and cultivate and provide opportunities for learning and development for our minorities. Across the nation, less than 25% of STEM professions have minorities. Within that 25%, less than 13% are female. So how do we bring the opportunities to them? Because in the schools, we do provide some things, but we also are teaching other content area pieces as well. So this one is something where I extend the day, not during the school day, because I don't believe that children should ever have to choose. They should have every opportunity possible. So on Saturdays, will be their sessions where we extend their learning and growing. So that is my journey as a teacherpreneur, how I started out in the classroom, 6th grade, middle school, and my babies still keep up with me, even though they're 30 plus, but they still keep up with me. And here I am today. So I thank you for your time, for your patience. I wish you all well on your journey. You have the business cards. Contact me as needed. Thank you. Any questions? I know we got started a little late.
Well, about 3 minutes.
Okay, because I was told cut it, and you're telling me 3, so
Okay.
I'm a little confused. See, we got started late due to technology.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because everybody's waiting for. Yeah.
If y'all want to talk to me, I'm fine.